Okay, so let's get started here with the sketching process. I'm not going to use any reference today. Today, the whole drawing is just an imaginary drawing. Kind of trying to imagine here several houses, like a city, with houses and buildings all um, very close to each other, sort of piled up, sort of like a cluster of lots and lots of um, residential buildings, tall buildings, and more traditional houses, very simple houses. Um, I'm not preoccupied again to make this drawing realistic. It's kind of a combination of whimsical and I don't know, playful sort of um, art. And so I'm not worried about, making anything very um, straight. The lines are not very straight. The windows of the buildings and houses are not going to be very straight. Um, this is a part of the process that I have a lot of fun with it. And then I just sort of lose myself in doing this, in creating this simple architectural drawings. Try to make the houses and buildings as different as possible from each other and make them unique in their own way. Uh, and one of the things that I like to do is to create the foreground image first. So you see the houses that I'm creating. I create it first in the front, and then I just keep adding up and up more buildings and other houses in the background. So that way, especially since I'm going directly with the ink in this process today, if I make a mistake, I don't need to erase, or I can just create something on top of what's already there. And that also makes it very easier. Well, doesn't make it very easy. It's a simple process. It just takes a long time. The video is speeding up here. This is I don't draw this fast. No way. I like to take my time when I'm drawing, but I'm speeding up the video here. But so it takes time to create this drawing, but it's very easy, really. If you look at these houses I'm drawing here, they're no different than the houses that we used to create back in kindergarten. Just very simple houses, simple shapes put together, a triangle and rectangular shapes and windows, and there you have a house. So basically that's all that it is. I'm not preoccupied here with perspective either. Just want to have fun with the process. I think this is one of the best parts of the process is the actual creation of the image. So we really just want to um, spend as much time with that and create something that we really like. So I'm using this tool, ruler sort of tool with lots of shapes. So that is very helpful for me when I want to create several different windows, and they all have to be about the same size. If you don't have one of those, you can definitely just use a ruler and or create them by hand. That's fine. It's just because this drawing has so many windows, and some of them I like them square, others cathedral shape, and others are just round. So is this too actually it comes very handy. for this type of drawing. And then after the basic drawing is done, then I just spend a lot of time with the details, finishing the details of the windows and the chimneys and doors and whatever else needs to be there. The roofs, kind try to make the houses different from each other. So some of them are going to have horizontal lines for the sidings of the house. Others are going to have bricks or something similar to that. But the idea here is just to make this look like a very crowded city, or a city that has a lot of buildings and um, a lot of people living inside this residence. Um, kind of makes it interesting, make you kind of think like what's going on in there in that house or in that building. Um, kind of I try to think that um, this is a city or a town built up in a hill, up in the hill, like, so you can see the houses, the bottom of the hill, and then you can see all the other houses and buildings that are behind. Just because maybe the landscape is like going up in a hill, and so that's why you can see so many things at once. Of course, I always like to add some shading to my drawings, and that's what I'm doing now here in these towers. This drawing is going to be a combination of ink and watercolor. So I'm not going to be very detailed with my shading here. Usually I spend a lot of time doing all the shading, but today I'm just going to use it a little bit of shading and then do the rest with the watercolor. So what you see me doing there now is adding just water. This is just plain water in the paper. And the reason why we do that is that so when we bring the actual color, like you see now, that blue, um, it you can play a lot more with that painting, with the paint, um, because you could apply the watercolor color in dry paper. That's fine too. But it becomes more playful, and it's more satisfying experience when you can let the ink just kind of run its course through the paper and just let the water do the job for you, sort of. That's kind of the idea here. The issue that I had here with this painting is that this page of my sketchbook was a little bit damaged. Uh, Maybe you cannot see here in the video, but in the upper left corner, there was a stain from a previous painting, the other painting that you see on the other page of this sketchbook. So somehow, I don't know, I had an accident and spilled some of the painting onto this page, and I tried to fix with white watercolor ink, but that didn't work out so well. So now that I'm bringing this color here, this blue, um, that that damage in the page, it's still going to be there for a while. So if you watch the video until the end, you're going to see that I have to fix that, and that's something that happens a lot with watercolor, that kind of uh, end up having to fix a lot of things. And I thought, well, this would be is still a useful video, even though the page was already damaged, and There was a bit of an accident there, and so it was not the perfect painting, but it's something that happens a lot with watercolor, and then we kind of need to learn how to fix things and go with the flow, and especially trust the process. That is the thing with watercolor. What I'm trying to do here, I want to have a very dark sky, a very deep blue uh, sky, because this is nighttime and that will make the buildings pop up as well as the moon. So I'm going several times with the paint here. And this second time that you're seeing me here with a darker blue, I'm coming in after the previous one was already um, dry. So that is the thing with watercolor. You can paint as wet on wet, and that's a lot of fun to do that. But sometimes, if you want to build up more colors or deeper colors, darker colors, it's probably best to wait for the paint to dry. And it is probably the area that some people don't have a lot of patience, myself included. Sometimes I don't have the patience to wait for things to dry. But that is the best way to create certain effects. So I'm going to now start painting the buildings and the trees. Actually, I'll start with the trees first. But you can see there, I try to make that sky very, very dark blue. So I came many, many times, or well, not many times, but a few times with the blue paint over and over again to make that effect of the nighttime sky. So now I'm just mixing the colors. I'm just going to use trying to keep a very limited color palette. So once again, what you see me doing here, I'm just coming in with water on those trees, and then after all the trees are wet, then I will bring the colors. So with watercolor, it's best to use the light colors first. So I like my trees to have a little bit of green and yellow. So I will start with the yellow, where I imagine that the trees are going to be um, lighter in color. So since the moon is shining, um, it it's not exactly in the middle of the page, but um, it's somewhere in between the left side and the middle. So the trees all the way on the right side are going to be darker on the right side, and will be a little lighter on the left side. And the opposite, it's for the left side of the page. So as you can see now, I'm bringing the green um, in just using wet on wet uh, technique here. So I did have a bit of a problem with some of those trees because the blue color um, bled into those trees. And then I tried to fix using white color there, which was probably a mistake. I should just had left the trees just the way they were and try to go with the flow like that. But this is a fun process to use these colors um, and just play with them, play with the colors, and trust trust your process. Uh, the painting looks very raw, very simple now. There's nothing interesting, but as we continue bringing in colors and wait to dry and then paint a little more, um, the paint start coming together and your image, your illustration starts coming together into something that you enjoy. And in the meantime, it's important that we also enjoy the process. So I really had fun with this painting. Um, a little bit, what I want to talk to you guys also, it's about the paper. This is a watercolor sketchbook, and it has a very good quality paper. It's not a high quality, it's not the best, it's nothing super expensive, but it's a good quality paper. And that it's important. If you are going to invest on anything for your art, especially if you're interested in watercolors, um, and you're trying to figure it out where you should put your money first, that should be on the paper. The paint, you don't need to spend a lot of money on your paint. This paint that I'm using, it's a um, I think it's a student brand. Is nothing fancy. It's not something very expensive. It's called Fine Touch. The Fine Touch. I'll leave it a link for you in the description. I'm not sponsored. They're not a sponsor in this video. I pay for this paint. I believe I bought it at Hobby Lobby here in the United States. So probably in your country, if you don't have that kind of store, that chain, any other uh, art shops, you will find paints that are not overly expensive. So the only difference between a very expensive watercolor paint and a more affordable watercolor paint is the amount of pigment. So I feel like these um, student grade type of paints have enough pigment for any artwork that you're going to do. So don't worry about spending a lot of money. I know Daniel Smith is very expensive paint, and artists, professional artists especially, enjoy that type of paint because it has a lot of pigment. But this one here, it's nothing. There's nothing wrong with it. It's enough pigment for everything that we need. And as far as brush, all that you need is just a soft brush. Also, don't worry about buying very expensive brushes because I don't know. I feel like we tend to go to brushes through brushes a lot. We I don't know, paint so much, and at some point you just have to uh, you know discard them and get another one. So also don't worry about buying top of the line brushes. Any soft brush will work well for your art. And then also, an advice for beginners that are just starting out with watercolor is that don't spend a lot of money with supplies, with watercolor supplies in the beginning of your journey, because you really don't know that you're going to like watercolors. So I always felt like, if I'm starting out with a new medium, at first I want to try it on and see if I like it and see if I want to continue on that. And if I love it, then I'll go ahead and buy uh, more expensive or better quality uh, art supplies. But in the beginning, I really don't see the point of it. The beginning, you just want to try and have fun with it. And if you enjoy the process and you feel like you want to continue, or I don't know, maybe even take seriously, or if the art is serious for you, uh, then yes, then I think it's worth to invest more money. So the only thing to remember is that I always use a watercolor paper. And if you are willing to spend a little more money, then it should be on the paper, not on the paint, which kind of sounds strange, but really that's, I learned that on the hard way. I used to have very low quality paper back in the day when I started, and until I finally figured out, oh, okay, so the paper is more important than the paint. So, what you see me doing here now, just doing some final touch ups on the buildings. And then now I feel like there were some mistakes, or paint just bled through where it wasn't supposed to. So, to fix that, I'm using these watercolor pencils. Um, I have a video about, actually, I have a couple of videos about watercolor pencils and how you can use them and how they can be so useful. You can do entire painting only with watercolor pencils. Here, today we are combining the watercolor paint and the watercolor pencils together in one paint. Um, you can add the watercolor pencils and just leave it like that, or you can bring in more water and let the water activate the colors of your watercolor pencils, which is what I'm going to do here, almost on everything. But you could just leave the watercolor pencils dry without adding more water. I am going to add more water today, but just so you know. And so these watercolor pencils that I'm using here is the Faber Castell. They are very good quality pencils. If they are a little more pricey, if you don't have, if you the pencils that you have at home are more affordable, that's fine. You can use that as well. It doesn't have to be anything too fancy or expensive. So here I'm fixing again my sky because I wasn't super happy about it. What I wanted to do was that effect of the moonlight shining, um, and being the area of the sky being lighter color than the rest. And further and further from the moon, the sky should be very, very dark. So that was the look um, that I was looking for. So that's why I added even more ink or even more pigments from the watercolor pencils to create more of that effect that I was going for. And then, of course, I also add a little more ink here, or this is, I'm just using white ink directly with no water for the moon, just to make sure that the moon is very white and bright there, and and contrast very well with that blue sky in there. I hope you are enjoying this video. And if you haven't subscribed yet to my channel, I ask you to subscribe so you never miss a video. I have many tutorials for drawings and paintings and art in general. And my channel right now is still very small, so it would be very helpful for me if you subscribe so I can continue bringing videos like this. And hopefully, those videos inspire you and help you in some way to create your art and give you some ideas of drawings and paintings that you can create on your sketchbook. So this video is almost in the end. What I'm using there now is a metallic paint just to create the stars. I also used a little more ink to just give it an extra color on the windows and buildings. Just don't have footage for that. So here we are almost in the end. Just going to do a few touch-ups and we are done. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this tutorial. I know this was a long video, and thank you so much for staying with me all the way to the end. If you like watercolor and you want to learn more, then watch this next video. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.